I'll go ahead and get started. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I know we've been doing these the last couple weeks, and it's nice to see some returning faces, some new faces, get to hear some new ideas and everything. It's always awesome. I think tonight we might be talking about, or I guess the general topic is going to be probably about more of the toxicity and some harassment that occurs within our InfoSec community, and how we might be able to start addressing that in a productive manner, and just kind of hearing everybody's stories and thoughts on that, as well as what everybody else, anything else you guys want to talk about?
Starting out just with the introductions, I am Khalilah Scott. I am currently a security compliance analyst in the GRC field. Current founder of the TechSec Chicks, which is a women's organization that is geared to bring women together through their tech journeys and just kind of give a support system. And you can find us on Twitter at TechSec Chicks with an X at the end. But yeah, it's nice to meet everybody. I'm still a current college student as well. So I'm set to graduate in February with a bachelor's in information security and assurance. But it's really good to meet everybody, and it's good to be here. Thank you guys for providing this space.
Parker, do you want to call on people to go, or should we just at will?
I'd be happy to keep it as an at will. I don't mind.
I'll just go next then. Hi, my name is Meryl Vernon. I'm a red team operator for Zoom Communications. I'm also a threat hunter for Dark Rhino Security, and I also help publish CIS benchmarks on AWS foundational and service-oriented security. I've been working in InfoSec for about 2 years. Just hit my 2-year marker here in October, and let's see, I finished my master's in cybersecurity about 6 months ago, and recently I started doing talks centered around Wild West Hack and Fest and Grim and GrimCon and things like that. So mostly in the Mac offensive space now, just pivoted from Windows back in March. I tag Rhea. Go, Rhea.
Alrighty. So hi, everyone. I'm Rhea. I've currently joined Coalfire actually just a few months ago and really focus a lot on the cloud security assurance space. So it's a lot of fun. If you really like working with clients and assessing their controls and where they can be better at, and at the same time providing reports for them so that they can bring to their own end users, then I'd say, definitely get involved in security assurance. I've been involved in the InfoSec/tech industry, I'd say for a few years now, but primarily before I was involved in a lot of security communities online. So I used to actually be a marketing director, more like a volunteer role at this nonprofit called CSNP. And then CSNP hosts all these events for free as well, kind of similar to what we're doing in a way. And really the whole point of that is to provide security content at no cost for everyone. So that's kind of how I got in touch with a lot of folks within the security community, and also because I would say I'm also a career changer. So I didn't start off in security. I actually started out in financial services marketing. And there's a whole separate story about my whole pivot. So I'll just keep it to that right now. Maybe I could pass this on to Eric, since I see that he's here as well.
No, this is not the Eric you're looking for. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric, and I currently serve as a virtual CISO. I've been in the InfoSec and cybersecurity field for over 30 years. And I am also the founder and executive director of Raíces Cyber, which is a organization that caters and supports the Hispanic, Latino, Latina, Latinx community, as well as all our allies in cyber. So it's a pleasure being here with all of you.
Well,
and I'm going to pass it. And I'm going to pass it to Coleen.
Good evening. This is Coleen. You guys all actually kind of caught me at an odd time here because I'm actually in the process of leaving InfoSec. I've been in tech for a while myself, InfoSec strictly since 2017. I lost my job right at the beginning of COVID, and I have struggled to find a job within InfoSec. And I've just become so disillusioned at this point that I'm just stopped applying to InfoSec jobs. I'm applying to, networking, systems support, going back to tech. So, like I said, this is an odd time for me to be re-invited back to the InfoSec Hot Tub. So,
All right, passing it on to Caleb.
Hi, everybody. I am Caleb McMurtry. I'm on the blue team at a company. Not going to say who, but I've been, pretty much there since COVID started. It's been a good time. And then I also have a YouTube channel called Studio Sec. The whole idea is to create cybersecurity content that's easy and free for everybody to get access to so they can get into the cybersecurity industry. And with that, I'll pass it to Alberto.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Alberto Hill. I've been in cybersecurity for almost 20 years. I am in Uruguay. And not much. I am the first hacker who was sent to prison in Uruguay for a computer-related crime, and I am doing many things in the field. One of them is helping as a volunteer in Raíces, that Eric was the founder of it, and it's an amazing place. So thank you, Eric, for that. It's really great to be part of that community.
You're more than welcome, and we have here a couple of the volunteers from Raíces. We got Caleb, we've got Alberto, and I see a couple more. But all right, with that, Parker, why don't you tee us off for the content for tonight?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the great introductions, everybody. I guess really fast. I'm Parker. Thanks everybody for being here. I started these just because I wanted to give people a space within InfoSec to discuss some of the more pressing topics, a place to collaborate and come up with new ideas, and just make the industry and the community a kind of more welcoming and inclusive place. Also a reason why I started a nonprofit, the InfoSec Collective, where I try to offer services for free and make the industry more inclusive as well. So tonight, I know we covered in a couple other sessions that we had the last couple of weeks, things about hiring. So I thought tonight it might be maybe not fun, but a good place to talk about some of the toxicity that we've seen lately, but also that's kind of just been ever present within every industry, and InfoSec's nothing special. So I thought, why not talk about it tonight? Maybe we could talk about the momentum behind hashtag InfoSec Bikini that I know Coleen was centered around earlier this year, and then we've also seen some other stuff go on lately with maybe some bug bounty hunters, as well as just overall toxic or harassment behavior for people in the community. So I don't know who wants to jump in first, but I'll just hand it off to whoever wants to talk.
I think InfoSec Bikini was such a great example of the community banding together over how that whole thing started. Was that someone who is an InfoSec, I guess, influencer or has a InfoSec oriented account posted a picture of them in a bikini somewhere where it was appropriate, and people got offended. How dare you post non-InfoSec oriented content to your personal social media feed, which I willingly choose to follow. And I was like, you know what? I'm all over that, because while it's not something I would really post on LinkedIn, that's not really the audience for it. It's people on Twitter can literally post whatever they want, and it is your choice to follow them. And we need not shame people who take time out of their personal like daily lives to put together great research articles and tutorials and InfoSec content, like when they choose to do something outside of that. That was, I think, the beauty of InfoSec Bikini is we were like, oh, you want to be offended? We're going to offend you as a united front then, because we really don't care about what you think. Although Coleen,
Well,
I guess he said this spawned around you.
yeah, unfortunately it did. I agree. That was like one of the most heartwarming moments that I've seen within InfoSec in the community. Because usually it's when people come together, they're going after a predator or somebody that's done something bad in our community. And I guess that kind of was how it went on this. There was someone's comment towards me, but it was just more supportive than negative. I think it was really, like I said, one of the unique moments within InfoSec.
Yeah, it just goes to show, mess with one of us, mess with all of us. A lot of us don't like it when you kind of try to make someone in our community feel bad. So, and I think that relates to so many things going on in InfoSec right now. It relates to how many people with OSCPs that can't get entry-level jobs. It relates to how many people, and Coleen, again, I know you can speak to this, are struggling to find jobs in security. And like, it's perceived that we have this giant skills gap and person shortage. And it's like, we don't. We just have a shortage of companies like willing to be realistic with their expectations, which is unfortunate.
Amen. You said it right there. Amen.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's never been the case of being a shortage of talent. It's more so a shortage of people that can think outside of the box. You have a lot of new people coming into this industry, and it's not a lot of space or spaces for us to. And I'm a new person coming in as well, so I can speak to this. Where we are given the opportunities to join a company and grow and learn and not feel bad about that and not feel like we're not enough. So it's just a lot more of like we have to bridge the gap in the sense of where they see things and where we see things, and we have to find people that can bridge that together so we are not saying this same thing over and over again. Oh, it's a shortage, it's a gap, it's we don't have people. We do have people. They're just not the people that you want. These are not the people that you want because you want these unicorns out here in this industry that can do 5 jobs and you can pay them for one.
And not only will we all willingly do that anyway, I don't know anyone in InfoSec who does just their job. I don't know anyone in InfoSec who's like, I'm unwilling to pen test that web app simply because I'm a red team operator or whatever. They're usually, everyone's willing to leap in wherever help is needed. But it just kind of goes to those toxic hiring habits. And my favorite story about this is when I worked in IT recruiting years and years ago, I had a manager tell me they wanted a mid-level Pegasus developer and they wanted someone with at least 5 years of experience. And I was like, let me tell you why you're never going to find that. You ready? They're like, yeah. I was like, this language is almost 3 years old. So at the most, you're going to find someone with 2.5 years of experience.
And I just spoke about that in a stream just about a couple days with Caleb, as a matter of fact, on his show. And I gave him a story about something that happened to me where I was in an interview and they said, well, we want 10 years experience in this. And I looked at the person in an interview and I said, you must be joking. That company wasn't even founded 5 years ago. And I will tell you, I can tell you a story of even today. I was with a client today, and he's trying to hire 3 InfoSec persons. Okay. And when I asked him, okay, well, what are you expecting out of these 3 people that I'm going to hire for you? He basically asked for 3 purple unicorns with 10 years experience in 15 different areas. And I said, no way, you're not going to get this. And this person has been trying to find these people for 6 months. And I said, that's why, because your expectations are of somebody that doesn't exist. And that really happens. I've been doing this for a long, long time, 3 decades now. And I will tell you that it's an issue of people from the, and I'll say something a little controversial, but this is my experience, is you've got I'll call it the old guard versus the new guard. Okay. And a lot of people from the old guard are expecting experience and this and that. And they have a great talent pool, and they don't give them a chance to shine. And it's ridiculous. We don't have a skills gap. We have a people gap. Okay. By the end of this year, it has been said that there's going to be about 500,000 US InfoSec jobs available. And instead of us saying, okay, well, let's take this crew that's coming in out of school, transitioning, new people, uh, just people with certs. Let's give them a chance and let's grow this community. What they're doing is they're trying to find something that doesn't exist out there right now because everybody that they're looking for is already employed. So it is a major, major, major irk for me when I meet with these CISOs and these senior managers that will not give a great group of people the time of day.
I definitely agree with you, Eric. I think it's again, the expectations are kind of crazy. They have expectations of people that have been in the industry for 5 to 10 years, and you have new people coming in. You have to invest in your people at some point. And when you don't invest in your people, you don't get people. And now I'm not saying there is not the opportunity that if you invest in somebody and you teach them the ground up or whatever, that they may stay or may not stay. I can't say that. But at the same time, not giving people a chance based off of the fact that they don't know multiple positions. I'm not saying they won't get in it and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm open to learning something new about this or whatever, but that's how we do the burnout thing. When we start putting multiple jobs that we supposed to be paying multiple people for, and we put it on one person, that is how you get burnout immediately. We have to like change our train of thought.
Yeah, not to mention, what is the alternative to not teaching someone the skills they need? Like, hey, why doesn't your teammate know how to do AWS cloud security? Oh, I don't want to teach him cloud security because I don't want then some company who needs a cloud security specialist to poach him for more money, which is basically, we've already covered toxic hiring. Toxic management mindset is like, I want to keep you where you are and I want to keep paying you as little as possible. And so I need you to be just qualified enough to admin what I have, but not be utilizable to anyone else, which is horrible because if you train these people up, you give them the skills they need to succeed, and then you pay them adequately, commiserate with their new skills and experience, they will stay. It's only when people are miserable or like they can't provide for their basic expenses in their families that they seek other opportunities where, yeah, they will get paid twice as much to do the same job. That's just how it is.
Absolutely. So, Caleb, we're going to give you the floor for you to speak right now.
No, yeah, I just had a question on this is to kind of tie back to hiring and some of what Eric was talking about. And this may not necessarily be like an either or question. It might be a both or answer. I guess it might be a both answer. But how much of this is compounded by InfoSec professionals not having input, or that are in an organization not having input to the hiring process, and how much of it is kind of that quote unquote old guard, mentality that Eric was talking about, or, really just like the cultural shift between, prioritizing people with experience, even though the hiring pool doesn't necessarily have experience, and giving people the opportunity to get that experience under, the organization that you're working at.
I can speak to that at least a little bit. Most interviews that I've gone to are multi-stage interviews where you'll interview with, like the recruiting person first, and then they like screen you, and then you speak to a hiring manager, and then, they screen you, and then you'll come in and meet the team. and then they screen you, and then you'll meet like the ultimate boss, like the CISO or whoever, and they basically screen you. So, you know, I've done well in many other stages, especially like the team. You know, you're in this room with this group of people for like an hour or something. You're gelling with them. You're like, they're getting you. They understand the way you're talking, right? It's like you're gelling, but you don't get the job because you didn't gel with the manager. So there's experience, but then you have the smaller companies that you only get like one or two interviews. So I think it just depends on what size organization you're applying to.
We can kind of, after that, thank you, Coleen, because that was very insightful, very helpful. We will definitely introduce Davin and Jonathan. So, Davin, we are going to start with you.
Davin! What's going on, everybody? So I jumped on a little late, but I was listening to what Eric was saying about companies, with the old guard and everything. And my argument to that is, let me rephrase that. My point to add on to that is the same thing that I think I've been saying for a little while now, is that you have companies who literally are stopping themselves from being multi-million or multi-billion-dollar companies because they won't think outside of their own comfort zone. They like to have people who look like them or think the way that they think. And unfortunately, the world isn't that simple. It's called diversity for a reason. So when you have these companies who aren't looking for diverse candidates and they want to stay in their own bubble or whatever it is, they're ultimately hurting themselves. And to Eric's point, yeah, I think I saw the same number, about it was like 569,000 or something the last time I looked. And it's not that there's a lack of talent. It's just they want these unrealistic expectations. They want these people who, like I said, who look like them or whatever. And instead of, taking a chance on somebody or, looking to see what else is out there, they're willing to shoot themselves in the foot. And unfortunately, until things change, which I'm not sure if that change is going to happen rapidly, or we build our own table, nothing's going to happen in an expedited fashion. Now, how that table gets built, that I'm still working that out. But we need to let them know that these companies need to stop being the only game in town. I'm trying to be very limited with my words because my kids are around, so I'm behaving myself.
Yeah, I noticed you didn't go after me completely, and getting into this diversity thing, you don't want to get me started on this, but I agree 100% with what Davin said. A couple weeks ago there was a event from the Aspen Institute. It was September 9th, and they came up with some diversity numbers for the cybersecurity workforce. And the racial and ethnic diversity in the cybersecurity workforce currently stands at 9% Black, 4% Hispanic, 8% Asian, and 1% Native American. We've got a challenge in the industry that, like Davin said, a lot of companies want people that look the same way, and that could be a racial thing, that could be an ethnic thing, that could be a educational thing. I've been in organizations where they wanted every candidate to have a PhD in cyber, and then they said, I can't find the candidates. And I'm like, well, if you're looking for people that have a master's and a PhD, you're not going to find a lot of them out there. Yeah, a lot of people are looking to do that, but they're not there yet. How much does it cost to do that? There are a hundred reasons why not to hire a candidate, and very little reasons why to hire a candidate in their minds. And we've got to change that perspective to the other. It's let's give them a chance and let's see what they can do. And if we did that, I think a lot of change will happen in our industry.
Absolutely. And so we're going to give Jonathan an opportunity to introduce himself and definitely just speak a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Where do I start? InfoSec is cruel as fuck. Straight up. And I just posted something right now which really shows where we're at right now. I've pinned it to my profile. I did an entire iOS 15 experiment in 3 parts. 3 hours of videos, full write-up on Medium, code, screenshots, private clubhouse rooms, really raised awareness about everything that's happening. Spyware showed everything, the connections that are calling back to our machines with iOS. And I'm stupid, fake, mentally ill. I'm a fucking idiot. But the guy that actually starts doxing me online drops 3 0 days today. And I unblock him because he was screwed over by Apple. And I go fight for him because that's the right thing to do while he's still doxing me and saying that I have mental illness, saying that I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm doing, that I need to stop and gathering the troops. But even what he posted for his 0 day that he's getting all the glory for doesn't even scratch the surface of what I've posted and what I've disclosed. And this boils my every part of me. Because how cruel is it? I did the write-ups. I did the live videos. Everything. My approach was not condescending. My approach was very scientific. If all of the experiments were very professional, scientific, proved the points out. What is wrong with us? One person says something cruel, and there's entire memes being created about me, spread around to the entire fucking internet. And the funny part is, they're making fun of something that they don't think is a vulnerability when I was actually trolling them. Because all I was doing was replicating a known CVE. This is the state of our InfoSec right now. This is the toxicity. I replicated a known CVE and then told them at the end of the day, you know what? I just was replicating a known CVE, and it took everything for me to not, like, for 8 hours, I held this so I could gather the data and have a discussion like this. What in the fuck is wrong with us?
Well, we definitely appreciate you sharing, Jonathan. That is definitely great information. So
we need to take
definitely
action for sure. We need to take action.
Yeah. As much as we can, we definitely want to take action against different things of that nature. So going back to, I think I'm going to give it back to Parker.
Oh, may I interrupt for a second, please? No, I would like to say that about Jonathan, that he was asking what's wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you, bro. You have a lot of support. You've been doing something that not many people are willing to do and risk. And, well, you're doing the right thing, man. And you have a lot of support. Many people here are with you, and you know it. And it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing, but people should know the truth, man. You know.
Yes, they should. Thank you, Alberto. This is the thing.
Absolutely. I agree with
Okay.
Alberto. We definitely appreciate you sharing your story about the CVE and the whole situation and how definitely it can be a toxic situation. What we absolutely want to still do is just continue on and talk about other issues as well. But I appreciate him for coming forward, sharing his story, and us acknowledging that as well. We won't be able to solve that particular specific issue that he is talking about at this moment. Um, However, we definitely want to support him in anything that he has going forward. If there's any way that we can support him, we would love to do that if he could share that.
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I have a very thick skin, or I wouldn't actually be continuing on. Even the people that are doxing me and coming after me, if they need something, I'm there for them. We need to share this with people. We cannot allow people to make memes about anyone and put them down when they have no knowledge of what's going on. They refuse to actually ask questions. Whatever it is that they think is hilarious or funny, it's disgusting. Because what's happening is we're contributing. I was one of those people, and I vowed I'm not going to do this to any. I'm not going to like a post that's putting someone down. I'm not going to do it. I'm not gonna jump into someone else's retweet or someone else's quote tweet when they're making fun of someone in this community or even online. It's horrible. We need to step forward and many of you, I've seen you step forward and say, hey, stop doing this. And we need to report them. We need to report them for harassment. We need to report them for abuse, because this is the only way it's going to stop. We are all people, no matter whether right or wrong. And if we think that we know everything, we're wrong about that. And this is what's happening in this community. People are thinking that they know everything and forcing people out of this InfoSec community. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm not worthy. Right? This is what's happening. You can't imagine how many messages I have received. And I always tell everybody, no matter what, please, I'm here to help you. I'm here to raise awareness. I will fight for your rights. I work with many human rights activists, many. I'm an activist, a hard activist myself, and I want people to know that if you need help with anything, please, I will fight for you. I will put everything aside. Doesn't matter about me. This is about you. I want your message to be out, and I want everyone to know that, please, and I genuinely mean it. But we need to step up, and we need to fight for each other. Put ourselves aside, as tough as it might be. But if someone is struggling, I mean, someone is really struggling in our community, please help them and fight the bullying. It needs to stop. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. Coleen, I saw you've had your hand up for a little bit, and we'll go on to Caleb.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we have so many problems, and we just keep talking about these problems, and that's great, but we also have to talk about solutions to these problems. And I think a great number of these problems can be solved by doing exactly what a lot of us have the goal of. It's increasing diversity, like within companies and hiring organizations and hiring managers. Because the more viewpoints we've had, we've all said that before, the better off it is. But as far as the harassment goes, we just need to stand up for one another, not participate in that, and report it to the best of our ability. But I think standing up for one another and sticking together is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Caleb?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of, in terms of resources, point out that Eric Belardo actually just did a really excellent stream uh, on bullying and harassment tonight. So, you know, that can definitely help to have that conversation out in the open. And I just kind of want to get people pointed in that direction as well if they're looking for something. But I think this ties in pretty well to kind of that the topic that we started off with the InfoSec bikini movement and kind of what sparked that. And I think that there was a lot of, toxicity, obviously, that kicked it off. And, I just kind of wanted to see, because not everybody was here for that, the start of the conversation, what led up to that, like what's the history that led up to that, and then how, that was able to, I guess, raise awareness on that toxicity.
Okay. Yes. So that all started, I was off to the beach on a Sunday, and I posted a picture. I was feeling cute in my bikini, posted a picture online, and it was like definitely not the first bikini picture that I had posted, before. But, I woke up on Monday the next day, and some guy had posted something about, how inappropriate it was for us to post underwear pictures or something. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what his quote was, but basically, berating me for posting that picture in a bikini. And, my response to him was that I'm more than just InfoSec, right? I'm a human being. I'm allowed to have, other interests, other things, aspects of my personality. And what inspired me to respond to him was, like, I had seen the double standard within the tech and InfoSec community where, people posting things, guys post stuff and they're lauded for it, but women were basically harassed. Like, hey, I follow you for InfoSec. Why are you posting about anything other than InfoSec? But other people caught on to that, and they started realizing, hey, this is not acceptable. I don't know if it was because it was the bikini thing or it was just the right time in the movement. It also coincided with the Devs Pilates. I believe that was in Brazil, which was a similar movement. A developer down there, or a developer here in the United States. She was actually from there. Wonder Wanny, I believe is her username. She has an OnlyFans, and she posted on her OnlyFans and was ridiculed not within a week or so before I was for the exact same thing. She was harassed by the development community for inappropriate development behavior, I guess. So that started that movement, that Devs Pilates movement, that a lot of other people started posting similar things. And, I think it was just time for those two movements to happen. People were just kind of fed up, and it was the right thing, because it was just risque enough to people be like, wait a minute, but, it make you think, but then you're like, wait a minute, we see that on TV every day, right?
I think that's a really good point to kind of unpack going forward. This whole misconception of, because we're in InfoSec, we have to always talk about InfoSec or always study, always do this, always, like, that's not realistic. Realistically, we have to have real lives outside of our jobs, outside of what we love to do in this industry. And it's really heartbreaking because it's just like, people will grill you for being yourself, for sharing pictures of yourself in a non-InfoSec light, as they may say. But again, that's one of those things that we need to talk about and unpack, because I'm not going to post everything InfoSec or everything cybersecurity. That's not who I am. Like, I'm a real person, I'm a real woman, and I'm just like, I just want to sometimes post pictures of my puppy or post pictures of, just nice scenic views, or my kids or myself. Or why am I held to this standard as someone that I need, just because I'm doing something in the industry, that I need to absolutely post about this all the time. I just think it's crazy.
Well, I request more pictures of your puppy because it's cute as heck.
Sora is the, I won't say he's the best puppy because he is quite crazy because I'm training him, but he is extraordinarily cute, very happy most of the time, and unless we're in the car because he don't like car rides yet. But I want to share those moments with a lot of the people that I'm really cool with on Twitter. And it's hard to just send people random messages and post of my dog or my puppy. Like, I just put it on there because it's the easiest fix, because everybody I know that I get along with, that I'm cool with, are there. So it's best to just kind of post it there or post it in the Discord or whatever. But again, why does that turn people off? Like, it's a weird vibe that it turns people off to me.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that I think we have to just still be ourselves regardless, but just like also keep in mind that there's tons of bots out there. There's tons of trolls that just love to put a negative comment or try to be that Twitter police cop for some reason. And so I don't know if it's necessarily like in InfoSec, but I've noticed it does happen when you start posting stuff that isn't really technically focused. So maybe, for example, like I used to post like a lot of political stuff, mostly because I was outraged. And especially last year was just nuts. So sometimes, yeah, like we could be, or at least I could be, and I have to admit it, like, there are toxic tendencies, right, with things that we like or things that we dislike. But at the same time, Twitter is, especially if it's your handle, like it's your name, it's your brand in a way, it's what you want to be or like what you want to do or interested in. But just keep in mind that some people just really don't care, and all they love to do is just be, negative and troll and hurt people. So I think there was this one psychologist that I forgot his name, but he mentioned that, the negative feedback online, regardless if it's Twitter or Facebook or some other social media, like it always gets amplified more. And that really helps the algorithm just continue to grow. So for me, what I've noticed is that, I don't want to contribute to the negativity, and especially even with things that I don't really like I'll just maybe tweet about it maybe once or twice, and then maybe after that I'll just drop off. So for me, I'm just trying to steer away from, feeding into that crazy echo chamber, especially with Twitter. At the same time, it's like there's only so much I can do, and at the same time I still want to be myself. So that's kind of like how I've filter Twitter, or at least try to manage my expectations of social media.
Yeah, no, Twitter can be like really cliquish at times, and it's just like, and that they have people who they feel they're quote unquote rock stars or whatever, so anything that they say they follow, almost like a lot of things that we're seeing, like a cult following, and unfortunately, yeah, there's really not much you can do about it, except for ignore it or try to not feed into it. And then as far as people commenting on what other people post because it's not what they want or their cup of tea or whatever. I mean, it's on one hand, yeah, people complain like going back to the whole InfoSec bikini thing where they're upset about it not being content that they want. But then on the other hand, you have people where and I've dealt with this several times because I write blogs where I'll post an article that I've written, or post something that I've researched or did my due diligence on, and the next thing I know, I'm basically fighting to justify my existence in space. And that can also be frustrating and exhausting at times, where every time you feel like you want to speak up on something, someone's questioning your credentials or who you are or why you do what makes you qualified to speak on this or whatever. Or do you have what CVEs are in your name, or what bugs have you found, or somehow they feel like that's their level of validation. And it gets to be really frustrating. It gets to be extremely frustrating at times. I've talked about it several times about how I've thought about walking away from cybersecurity. I've thought about looking at other options, and even now I'm trying to do what I'm doing with the podcast and everything. I'm trying to highlight other people, but where I used to have that love for cybersecurity, where it was like I live, sleep, eat this, and like live this shit. Now it's more of a, yeah, I do it, and I'm gonna do it when I want to do it, or when I feel up to it and enjoy it. But it's no longer like that original fire is no longer there, and unfortunately is because of that same toxicity. So I mean, again, until that table gets built, not to sound negative, I don't know what to do other than, like, yeah, we can ignore it, we can call it out for what it is, but it seems like the negative always, and not just in cybersecurity, just in the world in general, the negative always seems to outweigh the positive.
Absolutely, Davin. We're gonna go with Alberto. He had his hand up first, so we'll go with him, and then we'll go with Meryl and Caleb next.
Okay, well, in my case, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I have never been a victim of trolling or harassment here. Actually, a few days ago, I was supporting somebody who was being victim of bullying, uh, and the person who was attacking the other person said, "Alberto, I respect you. There's nothing wrong with you." So even the trolls don't troll me. So that's that's something that I don't know why, but when it comes in real life, I suffer a deep frustration when I had a certain. I was involved in a criminal process regarding cybersecurity, and the community here in Uruguay is pretty small. We all know each other, and everybody knew what happened and how ridiculous everything was regarding my case. And everybody came to me and they told me that they support me, but none of them were ever willing to go out and support me in public. I mean, no, they just were. I mean, that was so sad. I mean, you have somebody that you know that is standing for the right thing, has done the right thing, has tried to help other people, and ended up in a huge problem, and you are aware of that, but you don't go out and say it out loud. I mean, you let the media destroy that person, which is me, and that is something that I don't know if it happens everywhere in the world or only here where I live, but that was really disappointing for me. That because if I was on the other place, I would go everywhere to tell the story of that person and give him a support. That's what I can say about toxicity and these kind of problems in cybersecurity, at least in my case.
And you know what, Alberto, and not to cut you off or anything like that, um, I have been in a couple of your Twitter spaces where I have been deliberately triggered by people inside of that space. And it wasn't until I called for people to say, this is not okay, that weren't Black, in order for those people to stop attacking me. at a certain point. And I'm just going to keep it real with you. And that was just my experience. And, again, like, I understand where you're coming from in the space where people don't attack you, but they do attack others around you. And we have a responsibility to protect those people or do better by those people. And when I said something, yes, that happened, but why do I gotta say something? That is toxic. That is extraordinarily toxic. And I've dealt with it on several occasions where I've literally not been talking about anything special in particular, whatever. I just happen to be there. Or I may have been talking on certain occasions, but that was not always the case. So we can't sit here and take this stance of it doesn't happen to me, so it's not real, or it's not factual, or it's not this, or it's not that. It is what it is. And I think the more that we address that and really unpack that, the more we will have a better understanding, because it could be happening to you. And if it was happening to you and I was there, I would stand up for you before you even had to ask. But it's not the same with everybody in this industry. And that's the point that we're trying to make. That's not always the case. It's not always somebody standing up for somebody else or them standing up. Like, why do we have to continue to keep fighting to be our race? Why do we have to continue to keep doing that? It has to be a better way. And we need to find that better way now, or just unpack that and talk about that. But it shouldn't be a fight from us who's being attacked. It should be a fight for us who's being attacked. And that's kind of my only thing. And I'm going to move on to Meryl. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. I'm sorry.
I think she might have dropped, actually.
Okay, well, let's go to Caleb.
Crud, I was still writing my notes down. I feel like there's just so much to unpack here. And one of the things that we were talking about earlier with just trolls online, I feel like it's easier to be anonymous than to be genuine. And you see that often with, I mean, not only bots, obviously, but with people that would rather create a fake account and just bully people. And it's messed up. And we're talking about the quote unquote table, right? How do we solve this problem? I feel like we could pretty much have world peace if we manage to solve this problem, because it's not just an InfoSec Twitter problem. It is we're seeing this spill into everything. We're seeing it spill into how families interact online. We're seeing it impact politics. We're seeing this just really spread. And I think one of the things, if I were to hazard a guess why this can happen, is algorithms like on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. They're designed to keep people on the platform. And so it's really tailored to the user themselves. And unfortunately, negativity, and again, I don't know how we solve this. I don't know if any of you guys have any thoughts on how we can fix this, but it seems like negativity really seems to get more clicks. I feel like that's a phrase in journalism, right? Why we never really see a lot of positive stories in journalism. But it gets people, sharing, it gets people commenting, it gets people retweeting, and they're all on the platform, and they're never, closing the app. They're staying on the platform to share with people about how angry that they are about a certain situation. And I guess my question would be, and this is obviously a big, very open-ended question. That's pretty much why we're all here anyway, is how do we fix that? How can we kind of reverse the ship, have a community here, obviously, that is positive and uplifting, but that doesn't allow trolls or whatever, or bullies, to just kind of like propagate through the system like wildfire.
Absolutely, I agree. And we are going to go to Jonathan.
Yeah, I kind of it's kind of disheartening hearing you speak about Alberto with him not experiencing what he was saying that he was what he was saying wasn't valid. I think that's kind of the point. What I'm actually trying to state, like, we're dismissing Alberto because of our opinions. Now, trust me, I'm a free speech activist all day long. But this is the problem too. We just dismissed. And I'm part of your community. We just dismissed Alberto's statement. Why? Why couldn't we just respect what he said? But at the same time, this is the hard part too, right? Beatrix, I respect what you said. So I'm coming at some.
Yeah,
I'm coming
because
at
I
this.
wasn't really disrespecting. I was never disrespecting or downplaying what he said. Dr. Nicole, can you mute, or whoever else can you mute for a second? I wasn't disrespecting what he was saying. What I was saying is he was privy to see what can really happen when somebody is being bullied or triggered online, right? And so I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. That is not what I do. That is not why I'm here. What I'm here to say is this happened, and I'm not making something up. This actually happened, and he was witness to it. And he can attest to the fact that I said that, while this was happening, nobody said anything to help me out. I was defending myself during this time where I was being triggered, whether it being bullied, whatever I don't consider it bullying. It was a conversation, but at the same time, certain people know how to trigger certain people. They know exactly what they need to say and what they need to do to trigger someone.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Especially
Yeah.
of a different race. But if you sit back and watch that and don't say anything, that is a part of the problem. That is my main thing. I shouldn't have to ignite you and say something to you for you to say something to them, and that's your space.
I see.
You automatically just say you are out of line. You are out of line for what you're saying to her, how you saying it to her, whatever the case. Because I would do the same thing for him or anybody else. You can't come into my space and talk stuff about somebody else or downgrade them and just be like, oh, well, this and that. Like, that's not okay. Yeah. That is not okay. And that was my only issue with that instance.
Thank you.
So please don't take it as me downplaying what he got to say or what he had to say or.
Yeah, I thank you for telling me.
Not
thank you for explaining that, Beatrix. I really, and look, I want to be pragmatic about this, and I really appreciate what you just said. I think I understand what you're saying, and I think that I would say that we have a lot to learn from each other, right? There's boundaries even that I'm uncomfortable crossing, right? I don't want to make anyone feel like they can't defend themselves, and I struggle with this myself. I'm not saying that's what happened. I wasn't there. I just want to share.
Absolutely.
And that's where and I don't want to offend anyone by. Maybe you could have stepped up, because I've actually been in many clubhouses, and you don't have to defend me. I can do that on my own, And so we have
absolutely,
this, and so I don't
absolutely.
And again,
but I
thank you.
It's not even so much that I needed him to defend me. I just felt like as a minority as well. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. Why wouldn't you? What is stopping you, or what did stop you at that moment? But at the same time, like, I can't blame him for what somebody else is doing. That's who they are. But what I'm not going to do is downplay it and say, okay, they didn't say racist stuff to me, because they did. They absolutely did. And even when those things were being said, nothing was said on anybody else's level. Like, nobody said, hold on, we don't do that here.
Yeah,
But
I hear you. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think
so
it takes just being able to identify what makes somebody else uncomfortable. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what was said, and if it was blatantly obvious that it was inappropriate. I think it takes that open communication, and it'll take time for everybody to get to that point where it's easier to step in on somebody else's behalf, and just to call out that bad behavior. Caleb, you've had your hand up for a little while, and then Paige, we'll talk to you. I know you're a new speaker, so we'll do a little introduction for you, and then we'll make our way back up to you, Alberto.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I feel like there's just an analogy that just kind of comes into my head. I like to think about, when people witness tornadoes for the first time, and then they go to tell somebody else that had never experienced a tornado, what that experience was like. Like, would that person that never experienced it think that it was like a lie? Because a tornado is objectively weird, and we're talking about something absolutely terrible. Like, obviously, any kind of like form of harassment is terrible. Racism is terrible. These things just should never happen. And I think one of the things that we really just need to always consider is if someone is saying that something happened, at least consider it and invest. We need to support one another. Like, we're here for each other, and be like Kiga, we're all here for you, and we want to make sure that never happens again. And one of the, like, we just have to accept that, if someone like comes out with an experience, a negative experience, regardless of emotions that we feel, we have to consider it, and we have to look at, what role can we play to help address that.
all right.
Yeah, absolutely, Caleb.
I do want to make a comment real quick too. I am I fight for everyone. Racism is something I hate with everything I have. I've got my experiences, right? I'm Hispanic, but I look white, and I've been jumped, right? I've been really hurt. But at the same time, we don't know who each other are. I bet no one knew that I was Hispanic. And if there was some, but I don't know, and I don't want to assume either. And I'm not. Look, what happened to you, Beatrix? If I was there, I would have raised goddamn hell, and everybody knows that about me. I would have I would have attacked everybody. But I don't know who everybody is, and I can't assume. I will fight for everybody if you give me enough information to do that. And I've messaged many of you on the back channels. I see your comments, and I ask, how can I help you? Can you give me a little bit more information so I can get some contacts together and raise awareness for you? If you give me enough information, I will fight. But I want to make sure that we can't assume, and that's like one of the things that I'm not saying you're saying to do that. But if you give us enough context, or if you say, I know some people are shy and they don't want to, say anything, but if maybe on a back channel, a solution is probably what I'm trying to say. On the back channel, hey, I know you're in here. Could you help me out? I'm feeling a little offended. Could you say something? I don't want to. I think that might be a solution if we keep our DMs open, right? And we message each other and we can trust each other. Because if anybody were to say that, I would have stopped and would have just gone crazy. As everybody knows, I do that. But I just want to put that out there. Maybe that's a solution we can do to message each other if we feel uncomfortable. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that is a good way to be able to have those known networks, to be able to reach out. Obviously, you shouldn't have to reach out. It should be just something that somebody notices and then can kind of step in because they know just it's the right thing to do. but I definitely think that is a good idea. Absolutely. Paige, I know you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. You wanted a quick intro?
Yeah, go ahead.
I am a Unix sysad. I program and I hack. I am trans and I have schizophrenia. So, Caleb, you were saying like we need like a plan. Jonathan, you were saying like what kind of suggestions people have, and I think it's really easy for us to sort of like forget that like there are a lot of different ways that people like enter this industry, and like a lot of us as minorities, or a lot of us who are like transferring from a different career, are entering the industry with a very alternative background. We didn't go to Carnegie Mellon and participate in the cyber warfare program. We didn't come out of like military training and like have like clearance. We're kind of doing this a bit differently, and because of that, we sort of see a different side of the InfoSec community based on like where we go. And there are really like two approaches to this that I think that are like really worth looking at, and like they're really, really simple. On the micro level, like the individual level, right? All we need from individuals is allyship, right? We need allies. If you see a person who's a minority in your office, just know that they're probably fighting an uphill battle, and things are pretty rough in that sort of situation. If maybe someone turns on them and starts harassing them in their own office, maybe a higher up is treating them very unfairly, that's something that's very realistic, very likely to happen. As an ally, it's really, really helpful if someone is around to defend you in case you need that. Like for me, the first thing I do in a new office is look for like who I can trust and who I want to be very careful of. And bearing that in mind, maybe you can be someone that I can trust, you know? On the macro level though, remember what I said about that whole thing of everyone coming from different backgrounds? Well, we bring our backgrounds with us. Like a lot of people who come into this industry who are from service industry, really wonderful people. They bring a lot of good nature, but like there's like a lot of other avenues that people get into, and they bring their culture with them. And what we need to like sort of realize is that like we kind of need a good balance, and we need to like kind of combine. I'm sorry, I'm off my meds right now, so I'm struggling to think. We need to boost up people from those alternative backgrounds to sort of outweigh things that are sort of overly seen. Because it's not that we have a problem of having toxic people, because like as someone said, there are toxic people everywhere. The problem is we have a lot of them. We have a lot of them, and if we can boost up people who are struggling, make them good, better than a lot of those people that like would otherwise be in that avenue, like you can really, really help out outnumbering toxic people by doing that. I like to help out pretty much anyone I can see in that situation. There are a lot of people who helped me out in that situation, and I will never forget them. Even like little stuff helps, honestly. And like when people are talented, it shows, they stick. Like I got finger tats, and like my office hasn't batted an eye because I am pulling weight. And I think that like if we can bring each other up, then that weight that we can pull will easily overpower any toxic person who's just in here to harass people and be rude.
That's so awesome, Paige. Thank you for speaking about that.
And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paige. I think I'm going to try and cycle. We have a few requests for speakers, so I'm going to see if I can cycle a few people in.
Sorry. No, I wanted to say something. Beatrix, first of all, I really apologize for the situation that you mentioned. Not to justify myself, I do not recall what it was. I mean, I run like 8 hours of spaces a day. Sometimes I am not in the space actually. I don't recall what exactly happened, but those who know me most of people here know me. I am always fighting and defending all of those people vulnerable that been attacked by other people. That's me. I apologize if I didn't do anything. I honestly uh, didn't visualize. I don't recall exactly what happened. So I take the responsibility. If I was in charge of the space, I am sorry if I didn't do anything to protect you. If you were being attacked, I'm really sorry. Uh, but uh, it's not me. I mean, I always do try to. I put a lot of effort try to help those people that need help and are victims of this kind of abuse because I do not tolerate that. I mean, I do not tolerate that. So I am sorry. I really apologize.
It's okay, Alberto. I mean, again, it wasn't you that was doing it. It was just people in your space. And again, it's just it is what it is at this point. But I appreciate your apology. I accept it, and we can just kind of move on from there. But again, just be aware that when you have these spaces and they go unchecked, there could be issues, there could be problems, there could be things that are being said to people that could be interpreted as bullying or racism or whatever. So we have to just have some type of accountability in some way, shape, or form. So with that being said, let's go with I don't know if Frank and Ibn have spoken. So
I just want to say I appreciate this conversation, and we all come from different backgrounds and cultures, and I know it's difficult to know how to behave sometimes when you see somebody, being mean to someone else. Is on Twitter, maybe it's easier, but in real life, it's not always. Some people aren't comfortable with confrontation. You know what I'm saying? And I know we all have the different backgrounds. I was surprised to see Albert's bio. Having spent time in prison, right? We have PTSD. We have our own trauma that we deal with, and we don't always know how to confront people, especially in public. So that was just something I wanted to add there. Um, I appreciate the conversation. I think that we can all try to do better. But when there's haters out there, which the haters aren't going to go away, the trolls are going to be there, the bots are going to be there, people are going to be negative. Do we want to give them so much fuel and talk about it so much? Does that help the situation? Or I heard somebody say earlier, maybe we just ignore them and just focus on what it is we're dealing with, what we're talking about. Here we have a whole topic dealing with toxicity. Is that improving the situation? I don't know. Something to think about.
okay. Yeah, definitely talking about it may not improve this situation, and it may improve the situation. So we're gonna go to Frank next. Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Ivan gave a perfect segue there. I wanted to caution against this constant ask recently of somebody else needs to speak up. I agree, we need allies, and I thank everyone for their stories, and I thank the people that do stand up. But I want to caution that a lot of people do not have the privilege to speak up, and it is a privilege to be able to do something like that. Um, some people might have a disability, or they might have social anxiety. They might literally have a panic attack or an anxiety attack from speaking up. So they're not going to put their health at risk to speak up for somebody else, even though they know it's wrong. And I noticed this common trend of we like to cause collateral damage and do a wide breadth uh, aim fire when an incident happens. And I just noticed that when something happens that's toxic or wrong, people try and rope everyone in that could possibly be connected in some way and get everybody involved. And like, why didn't you do something even though you're very tangentially involved with whatever happened. And I understand people are emotional when something goes wrong, and it's okay to be emotional. It's not okay to weaponize that emotion in that way, and that's what I really want to caution against, and that's what's really causing the environment to be more toxic. If something happens at an event or a person does something, you have to kind of control the spread of who you're roping in to that should be included in what that person or that event did, and just kind of, that's kind of what I wanted to say.
I don't understand. Do you mean for like accountability wise or victim wise?
Yeah, because that's kind of crazy. Like for me to see somebody doing something wrong and not say nothing about it or do nothing about it is weird. And the reason that I say it's weird is more so like I could never see somebody attacking someone or like literally trying to rape someone and just being like, oh, sorry, that's not my business. I need to just move on because that's not my business. Like, it's weird.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think this goes more to Ivan, and what I was saying was, we all want to do our best, and we all should step in whenever we can. But if somebody didn't step in, I wouldn't lambaste them completely without understanding more context of why they didn't step in. Because, like I said, and Ivan said, some people have PTSD, for example. They strongly avoid conflict, so they're not going to be the person in a room full of 30 people. If someone says a weird comment, they're not going to be the person that stands up and starts conflict and calls that person out, because it's very uncomfortable for them. Or they might have something like autism or something, and they don't pick up on it the same way you do, or they don't have that comfortability to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that I personally have been victimized a few times, and I have not lambasted a single person. I don't know. I'm somewhat confused by what you mean by lambast. Do you mean by me like calling it out, quote tweeting or something, or raising awareness of it? Do you think that's the toxicity? Is us raising awareness is the toxicity?
So I guess let's use a recent example. Let's use a recent example of the BurbSecCon badge. Probably most people here saw. And I noticed that there were photos posted of who's in the crowd. And it just seemed like I noticed everybody that could be seen in any picture at BurbSec was getting tagged or a message saying, why didn't you do something about this? And it was like, why is the onus is on the BurbSecCon organizers or maybe leaders in the space that have stood up before? Why is it everybody that was an attendee's responsibility? That's really putting a lot of onus on a lot of people, and a good amount of those people might not be comfortable, might not be able to speak up, might not have the privilege to speak up, or maybe they even did.
So you're basically describing doxing people, is what you're saying.
Well,
people were doxed that were there that people felt that they failed to respond. They were doxed, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be doxed, but yeah, it's like if I see you if I know like that event happened, right, and I see you in the background in a photo, and I message you, but you were just an attendee at a conference, and I'm like, why didn't you do anything about it? You're just like, I was just there. I don't even actually know what happened. But it's like this, like I was saying, this collateral damage. People just want to tag everything they can that could be potentially related to an incident.
Ivan, I'm gonna let you go.
Jonathan had his hand up first.
Let's go, Jonathan.
All right. Yeah. So I on the back channel, I just someone had messaged, someone had tweeted that they didn't feel comfortable, but they wanted to speak about this, and so I messaged and said, how can I help? And they said that they wanted to mention that they wanted to say that everyone should stick together, completely ignore the negativity. Then the person spreading it will look foolish, and then they said peace is what they want. I'm just sharing that with the message that was sent, but this is kind of an opportunity for us to even reach out to those, that and look at their feeds. Like, we're in this, this group right now. Go out in the space, go out in Twitter and look at these people's profiles. Maybe they've posted something. Maybe they're asking for help, but we're too consumed on like trying to get our point across. Maybe we take a little bit of time. We reduce that time that we speak, and then we go in and check to see if people need something, right? Maybe a suggestion, and these are kind of maybe things that can help us grow as a community. None of us are better than the other, and it doesn't matter how many followers you have, right? We need to go into everybody else's profile. Maybe they did post something while they're in here, but we were too busy concerned about what we had to say instead of seeing what maybe someone without a voice or too afraid to voice their opinions had to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I've loved this since I spoke and then everybody else spoke. I got a chance to rethink a little bit about how to give this example. I've gone to, you go to a restaurant and you have really bad service, and my family's there with me. They're like, say something or don't give them a good tip or what have you. But it could maybe not be the waiter's fault. It could be something else that was wrong. And then I'm sort of like a passive person. I don't want to confront the situation at that exact time. I would just kind of like want to get out of there and let's just move on. And then I'll go on Yelp, I'll go on Google, and I'll try to leave a bad review afterwards. So what is there an analogy for that here on Twitter? Call people out. Maybe there's somebody did something wrong. Maybe you don't want to deal with it at that exact moment. But afterwards, is there like a reporting mechanism, or you can call them out? I don't know if you guys have ideas about that.
What we don't want to do is compare calling out waitresses or waiters or food service with what is actually going on. And what is actually going on is a lot of like racism, it's a lot of sexism, it's a lot of, just hatred towards the trans community.
I understand.
Like it that we can't continue like that's part of the problem.
But
when we
don't you understand? Like, this is not happening on a street corner. I'm sure it is. Okay, I'm not trying to take anything away from the physical interactions that happen in real life, but this is social media, and we have algorithms that we all know they're fucking with us, right? They are doing things on purpose to pull those haters in to our communities. And we're actually feeding those algorithms.
We're in here speaking about it right now.
Social media is not really pulling people in. They're just really exposing people for who they really are. They're not pulling you in. You are who you are.
That we do not choose who shows up on our timeline. Twitter and Facebook and other platforms are choosing those for us with their algorithms.
But this is not about social media. This is about life in general. This is about the InfoSec community as it pertains to, jobs, job search, the whole thing. Like, it's not really about social media. Like, you're diming it down to that, but that's not really what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't want to diminish what's happening. I just respect what Jonathan said. There were some people, and I don't have the answer. I'm not trying to say this is the right thing or the wrong thing. I'm asking the question, what would happen if we ignored that? And not
what is happening right now?
So you don't control who shows up on your Twitter feed, but you do control who you click on and say racist stuff to. You do control what you say, and this is what the point of this all is. And when it comes to ignoring bullies, we're all told this sort of stuff in like school, but like, if you think ignoring bullies because you're afraid to give them ammunition is the strategy, I'm afraid that like you just don't know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. You probably haven't been in an interview, several interviews, where people are just outright transphobic and harassing you verbally.
No, I hear you 100%. I have people I love that are trans and all sorts of. I'm not trying to, in real life. I want to separate what we're talking about in real life versus what we're talking about with the algorithms. Okay, I think that's
This
important.
is real life, though. Like, we're talking about real life.
All right.
You do understand that, though, right?
I thought you were talking about a Twitter space.
No,
somebody
I may have been talking about a Twitter space earlier, but this whole space is about talking about real life, just toxic stuff in our community, in the InfoSec community, and the cybersecurity community.
If you're in real life and you're in an interview and somebody's doing something wrong, you turn on your phone, you record it, and you report it to the police department, to the HR department, to the manager, the boss. You call them out.
You know, we had a diversity and inclusion meeting today in my new company, 3 weeks there. And one thing that the woman said to us was, we are expecting the police to police the police. And what she said was, one of the main things that keep being said from the police are, oh, it's a few bad apples. It's not a few bad apples. The whole orchard is tainted. It's not a few bad apples. So us depending on that in order to be able to do certain things, be certain ways, or literally do our jobs, it's just not going to happen.
You ever get fired by not getting fired, soft fired, where they like close your office and it's like, oops, yeah, that's technically not illegal. You don't report stuff to HR. Like, I'm living in North Carolina, which is a single party consent state, which means I can record a conversation of an interview. But you do realize that I do have to use that in court as actionable evidence. And like, do you really think that that's like an effective strategy of policing toxicity? I'm sorry for like targeting you with this in particular, but
I'm trying to learn here, you guys. So please understand me. I'm trying to figure out how to help. Right? What can we do better in real life? And if the conversation's focused in real life, I appreciate that. I just think I want to separate the Twitter, social media stuff from the real life stuff. So if we could talk about real life, it's a horrible situation, and we need tools that are practical on how to solve this and how to deal with it and make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, no, I think that's kind of the point of these spaces, is to see what problems are there and how we can go about identifying them and then finding good solutions, both online and then in person. And I think a good way to do that is something we talked about earlier, which is more like diversive and inclusive hiring, and filling more roles with people that come from different backgrounds, have different ways of interacting with other people, and then you can start identifying and learning how to interact with a wider range of people.
I like where you're
sorry. I just want to pose a question, because I get the whole separating the social media from real life, and to an extent I understand that, but here's the question I'm posing is, what if someone who is well known, a quote unquote InfoSec rock star, right, does something that's hurtful to you on social media?
You call me and then and then I take care of it. I'm just kidding.
No. Because like put it this way. Yes. No, I get it, and that's fine. But if the point I'm trying to make is, if a big InfoSec exec or whoever it is does something on social media that the person may feel was disrespectful or hurtful to them.
So Davin, I might be naive, but doing something like that on social media, you're exposing yourself, and there's a digital paper trail, right? Like you can take a screenshot.
Right. But see, here's the thing is the problem is too many people have too many ideas, not ideas, have their own idea of how far is too far or how much is too much, right? Something can happen to me, right, that I look at from my perspective of being a black man that was hurtful or I felt was disrespectful to me, that someone else may not see that way. And now you're stuck because you're going back and forth with someone who has a bigger following than you, who has a somewhat cult following, and will defend this person tooth and nail. Even if they're blatantly wrong and they say, "Oh, I was just joking," because we've seen that happen.
Oh, did we lose you, Davin?
I think we lost him. Davin? Yeah, we might have lost him.
Okay.
But I definitely...
Someone else's experience.
There you go.
If someone said they went through something, as someone in the LGBTQ community, as a black man, black woman, as a white person, whoever, and they say, this happened to me, this is how I felt, they tell the story, whatever, and who am I to say, no, it didn't? Or you're overreacting. And too many times that's what happens. We have these conversations where people are essentially bearing their souls, and someone else comes up and says, yeah, but is it really that bad? Or, case in point, not saying that you did, not saying that this was your intention, or, well, why don't you just ignore it? And I think we're at a point now where the ignoring, we can't ignore no more. Right? We've been ignoring, some of us have been ignoring for years. Some of us have been ignoring for our entire lives because we were told that was the best option to go along and get along. And to be quite frank, now that my kids are gone, fuck that. I'm tired of it. So I think the point of the conversation is, or the point of these type of conversations are, A, so people can vent to one another and almost like a safe space, and B, start trying to figure out how to come up with solutions and what we can do, and have these conversations to listen to each other and try to figure out how we can help one another. But ignoring it is no longer an option. And with that, I'm going to say good night.
No, thank you so much for that, Davin. Jason, I know you've had your hand up for a little bit, and then Nicole, I know you've been in here for a little while.
Hey. I don't want to diminish anybody says. I'm a white privileged male, okay? Y'all have very valid concerns, and I'm with you. What we can do, and I mean everybody, white males, females, everybody in America, there's no more minority. Let's throw minority out the box. We can do numbers. We could look at the census. Let's just say, hey, we're all in it together at this point. Let's all work together.
We can say that.
Right. No, but we should do it. And this is kind of I'm just saying, and it's just not America, it's the whole world. You know, when I look at science, I came from a science background, and in science, we work together. It doesn't matter if you're Indian. It doesn't matter if you're Russian. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese. When science is science. And then when we get into InfoSec, all of a sudden we have all these issues, especially in the US and other countries. It's because it's a trade, right? Every trade has this issue, right? So I came from the military. I was privileged in the military to meet so many different cultures and learn and understand, not just around the world, but in the US. Learn different cultures. I came from Boston, one of the most racist, places in the world. When you go up to the Northeast, it can be quite racist. And, New York, you have pockets of non-racism. You have very amazing melting pots, but we're in this place where we're in this, we have this supernatural, I'm going to say it, supernatural highway, right? Where we don't no longer have to travel. We have the internet. We can open these dialogues in a safe place, on Signal, on even Twitter. We can open these safe spaces and talk about culture. We can, when it comes to different businesses, these different, ways of thinking, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's being a doctor, whether it's being a construction worker, it doesn't matter. We need to get past all this hate. We need to come together, and we have these awesome ways to do it. We just have to leverage the technology we have, especially now with the pandemic, to make that happen.
That sounds wonderful, and that's, I think, what we're all aiming for. But wishing it to happen is not going to make it happen. I mean,
no, but we need to talk more about it.
Yeah, well, I agree. And for you to say, to get rid of minority, I guess that sounds wonderful, but that kind of erases us in a certain way, right?
No. I don't mean erase minorities. I just mean, to me, like growing up in America and growing up in Boston and everything, I don't know how to put it. I can't put it into good words that doesn't sound like,
Well, I think you're in good faith here, but that's easily misconstrued there.
Right. And I just mean that people are people, and we all came from the same ancestors, and we're all just trying to do the same thing at the end of the day. In cybersecurity, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to protect people's data. We're all trying to protect the company we're working for.
But if people, Jason, if people are people and there is no color and nobody sees color, why do we have the situation that we have? Because if that was really true, then there would be no us.
It's because of
talking about this, right?
It's twofold. It's ignorance, and because we like our cultures. In other words, we like to hold on to our cultures, which is a good thing. And I'm not diminishing that, right? Like when I was young, I would go to my friend Jerry, who was from Sierra Leone, and his mom made this amazing chicken soup, like amazing. And I came from an Italian family, and it was a culture shock for me, right? And this is when I'm like really young. And I'm just saying, that's what everything should be in life. Everything. Like, we should come together. Diversity makes everything better. Like, you get different thoughts, you get different, ways of doing things, and then we all collaborate. And
so can I ask, how many Black people have you did this with, this theory that you have? How many Black people have you included in that? And then, like, have you ever been around enough Black people to where if they have been segregated against or disrespected, that you have stood up for them?
I think this is getting I think it's a little heated.
I think it's getting a little and
no, it's not getting. See,
no, Beatrix, Beatrix, you asked a good question. No, you asked a good question.
Thing. That is a very good question.
I'm not trying to project, and I'm not trying to project virtue or anything like that. I'm trying to. I'm just trying to like help.
No, it's not that I'm trying to point you out or single you out or do anything like that. But if that is your belief, let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. And
Well, no,
then
but this is
coupled with actual Black people or Black beliefs. Like, how can we really unpack the situation when people immediately, this is exactly what Davin just said.
I can give you some examples. So I've been a hiring manager for, I don't know, 10 years, right? When I'm hiring employees for InfoSec, I don't focus on color. I don't focus on gender. I don't focus on, well, all I do is I look at, one, do they have people skills? Because that's more important than the freaking technology in half the cases.
Can you describe your team to us? Can you describe your team to us?
I'm sorry?
Your team, how diverse your team is. Can you describe how diverse your team is? Like everyone that's on your team?
Right now, I actually just got hired, so I'm building into a team, so I can't really speak to that. But at my last team, we were two Black employees, me, and an Indian employee, and another white employee, Anglo-Saxon. But it's when I'm looking at employees, and a lot of people, like, if we're talking about racism and all that crap, and not to diminish it, and it shouldn't be, it's like, especially in America, we need to build each other up at the end of the day. And when we can be more diverse in our companies and bring in different diversity, we should do so. And that's what I do when I get the chance. And I'm just a hiring manager. I'm not a director. I'm not a VP, but I will do that when I do get the chance, because I think.
Can I just say that at this point, then what you need to do is continue to hire as diverse a team as you can, because that's part of the solution to some of these problems. And all of that, what you have just described, can be solved by hiring as diverse a team as possible. And that doesn't just describe race. That's their diversity. It means a lot of different things, right? LGBT, younger people, older people, right? We don't have to look at diversity as a specific thing, but you want to make it diverse as possible. And if you have the opportunity to hire a candidate, apples to apples, I mean, it seems to me you should probably take the more diverse candidate, because we all know, and studies have been done, that a diverse team works better and is more effective.
I agree. And I think that's what really I was trying to get to. It's really, and that's really what I was trying to get to, is diversity is key. And to your point, it's older, it's younger, it's trans, it's LGBTQ plus, it's everything. We should all just love each other and just get over all the hangups we have over all this crap, and just treat each other as effing people for change. And that's really what I was trying to get to.
I think it's more so, Jason, it's not that Black people or minorities or other people, as you say, it's not so much that we don't love each other or don't love white people. It's more so that white people have a problem loving us.
I get that.
And so when you really put things into perspective, we're not the aggressors. We're just speaking out on things that have been done to us years past, decades past, centuries past. So it's okay for us to say, no, I don't agree with this. No, I'm not okay with this. Or this is not how I thought it was going to be.
And Beatrice,
it's okay with that. But again, you have to understand that it's okay for us to express how we feel about those things, right?
Yeah. If any of you have felt that way, I am sorry. I am.
I'm not saying you in general. I'm just saying in general. Like,
No,
I'm just saying
no.
in a generalization, but I'm not saying you
When I
as
get
a
that, I'm
person
sure.
because I really don't know you.
No, I know, and I'm sure you feel that, and I'm sorry that you have to, and that's my point. Is we all need to change. Maybe not the minorities, but the majority. We need to change,
Right.
and
And
we
use privilege to end privilege. And I think Dr. Nicole has come in and hasn't really had an opportunity to speak yet, has she?
Absolutely not. Dr. Nicole, let's get you in. Yeah, you gotta unmute your mic and then you should be good to go.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm gonna apologize for the background noise in advance.
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's okay, good. It's my significant other's birthday, and I thank you again, Parker, for the invite and including me in. The topic that we're talking about is so.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to her mic. Is there anyone else that wants to ask any questions or anything of that nature?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
You can still hear me? Okay, outstanding. Okay, sorry about that. So, Beatrice is really bringing up, Grant, I understand the emotion that's involved on this, on everybody's side, but the fact of the matter, it's gotten to this point because we haven't addressed it as a community. At the same time, we have to look at the type of community that we are. We're a bunch of brilliant introverts. We're not exactly like the most outspoken people, but the fact of the matter is, we're also very moral people. And there's right and wrong. And it's not okay to just, stand by passively and seeing somebody else degraded. And part of like what has brought out the unfortunate, well, categorized words like the ignorant masses, these aren't senior people who are saying this kind of stuff. These aren't junior, they're people who are not even in our industry, who are reducing women, who are reducing the skill. And the fact of the matter, instead of talking about, or dissecting threat intelligence, or dissecting, what is going on in our landscape, and because we collectively, whether we're acting collectively or not, we're facing an adversary, that's, cross-national, state-sponsored, who, quite frankly, doesn't really care about our sensitivities or our posturing, and they are, constantly at war with us. We have need as a community to pull together, and we need to, from a place of compassion, of empathy, like without going through somebody's experience, you can still listen and respect it. But no, unless you've got the exact same thing, you're not in a position to reduce it or degrade it. And the fact of the matter is that people are not treating others the way they want to be treated. And if you go down to brass tacks and baseline, golden rule, guys, golden rule. And again, I mean, Eric and I, one of my brothers from another mother, another father. I'm also multiracial myself. I'm Chinese, Greek, and German. And I was a woman in the community back in 1996. It was all about cred. Nobody really gave a rat's that I was a woman. What they care about is like, does she have skills? And then all of a sudden, the she didn't matter. It was all about her. But the fact that, unfortunately, there was a movement within our community of people who are new, who are junior, who are, unfortunately, a lot of ignorance is a lot louder. And again, it also, you have to achieve, like one gentleman said about the science community. My PhD is in clinical neuroscience. I've been entrenched in the science community and academia, obviously private industry as well, and government for over 20 plus years now. There is a lot of distrust now also. So a lot of what we've seen in InfoSec, it's a toxic brew that's coming to the surface across multiple industries. And the fact of the matter is that if we're going to, at the end of the day, we have multiple adversaries, and collectively we need to pull together because we've got to win. They're at war with us. We cannot be at war with each other and be effective at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And
Agreed.
and that's what it comes down to. And right now it's a time of reckoning, and it's time of just listening. Unfortunately, we've let a lot of stuff go, and it's not that this is Beatrice. In all due respect, it's here's the thing: we don't want to be the person shaming others for not standing up, because you know what? Again, we got to look at who we are as an industry, and most of us, I'm going to say, are introverts. We're not the loudest, and it's usually the most ignorant, the most junior, the most not even in its industry. And I don't even know what IRC is, or Terminal, or Shell, or God. I watched a YouTube video on Python. I think I'm a hacker. It's like people have absolutely, again, no cred, that are saying and spreading a lot of this BS. And I gotta watch my language because I'm with my family at dinner right now. But it's collectively, we need to overwhelm the idiots, because that's what it is. It's idiocracy at the very, very baseline. Regardless of what it's rooted in, what its foundation is, we are all information security to make a difference in this world. Yes, culturally, we need a shift. There has got to be a paradigm. And I think it's the only thing that's going to make that change, permanent and relative and meaningful to those who've been slighted, because the slights have been absolutely 110% out in the open. And it's disgusting. It's like, most of us morally, if we saw somebody else getting bullied, regardless of our personalities, if we're shy or
I think
whatnot,
we need to stick together, right? And that's why we have these
exactly,
kinds of meetings where we're
right.
discussing.
Solidarity.
Right. I think Jonathan had his hand up, and we've got a couple of new speakers here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna let's stop for a second. Parker and I we're talking in the back. We've got a lot of speakers, and this has gone a little longer than what Parker had intended. So we're gonna start rotating through the speakers and give them a moment to speak. Jonathan, I'm going to give you a minute here to talk, and then we'll start rotating through the speakers. Okay?
Thank you.
I'll call on the speakers.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you. Yes. There's the one thing that I want to put out there is we kind of have this same song and dance. We need to be inclusive. We need to be diverse, and we need to respect. This is the same song and dance, but I'd like to help kind of drill it down a little bit, because there's bigger things than us here in the InfoSec community. And with regard to drilling it down to diversity, I was asked to speak on some human rights issues as it pertains to forensics. And I'm thankful for the opportunity for it. And I want to share a couple of things. We have to look at people as they want to be looked at, in the sense that if you want to be, whatever pronoun you want to be referred to as is so important, right? We have to see color, because it's disrespectful if we don't see a color of a person. And I give an example, and I'm speaking on this because, and I'll share this with you.
What can I interject here? So we need to also see them as more than just color,
yes,
right?
That's right. No,
or more than just that
you are
attribute.
100%.
They're a human being there, and they have something to contribute, and that's why they're
That's
there.
right. You're right. And this is what I'm actually going to be teaching technically to a university, and then the philosophy behind it. So, for example, if we were to see a Tibetan monk, and if you didn't know what was appropriate, to do when you greet them, and you try to hug them, or you try to reach out their hands, and it was not part of their practice, we would be disrespecting them. Okay? So if we didn't recognize maybe the way that they were dressed and maybe that the way that they were interacting with others, then we would be disrespecting their culture and who they were. Now, this same thing it translates to forensics. We've come to a point where we're going to extract all of the data from our cell phones, and this is what I'll be speaking on. All of it, we're going to just do this full dump. But the human rights violations in here come in the form of if you're just looking for phone logs, you have no business pulling the notes out of my phone. If you're just looking for phone logs, you have no business in pulling the pictures out of my phone, right? And it gets very specific because there are cases where culture is involved in the sense that someone's notes on the Quran are so sacred and embedded into their culture that if you're pulling those notes and you're disrespecting and you're viewing their thoughts in this way and disrespecting them in that way, that is a human rights violation. Okay? If we're pulling all of your information from your phone just to get phone logs, but yet your COVID records are in there.
What can I interject here? I agree, and that sounds more like a topic for surveillance than toxicity in the InfoSec community. I know these guys were trying to wrap things up here.
Yeah, you're right. I'll stop there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. We're going to go to Tatiana. Tatiana, you've got the mic.
Thanks. Actually liked a lot of what Beatrix was saying because, I don't see it as sort of calling people out. I think we really do need to take a look a little bit further at how we individually affect the toxicity in the environment. And if we're a hiring manager, taking a look at what backgrounds we're looking for, whether we're looking for typical or stereotypical backgrounds, university degrees, pathways to getting into cybersecurity, or the InfoSec community. If that's what you're looking for, you're going to get a standard applicant. And that's, I think, that's a big part of the issue. We also obviously need to take a look at the pipeline, getting more people in. And I think representation at conferences and panels and events, something that I try to focus on in my work, is very important because the way in which we represent ourselves to the world and younger people who are trying to get into the field, that is also very important. We can't continue to look sort of the way that we have been with, to be honest, a bunch of white men representing the entire community. And when we have, we just had the billing cybersecurity conference. There was a massive European conference a couple months ago, all mostly white speakers, mostly white male speakers. We need to fix those pieces. We need to fix the hiring, all of that. And then from an individual perspective, I think it's also really important when you're in a group, and I think somebody said this just recently, when you're in a group, and I think it might have been Beatrix, you have to stand up and say, hey, you know what? And this happens, I think, a lot. I'm in a group and I'm realizing I'm surrounded by a bunch of other white guys. Are we pulling in the right people? Do we have the program manager for this program who happens to be a woman? Or is it just more comfortable for me to talk to my friends who are all guys? Right. And that, I think, just that simple act of saying, stopping to think and saying, this isn't right. Let's wait and have this discussion when all the right people are in the room. Or if you realize that the majority of your conversations are happening between and within or groups that are homogeneous, think about that and perhaps try to include other people that are of a different background than you, so that you can get those diverse perspectives into your thinking. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. They were very insightful. And one of the things I'll just add here is that one of the things that Beatrice and I have talked about is we want to see, as she has the women, the TechSec chicks, and I have the Raíces Cyber for Hispanics. We want to see ourselves represented, and that I think that's what you're trying to say in one of your points. And it's great to see somebody that looks like me in that group. So when there's a panel discussion, we want to see that representation. It makes us feel it doesn't matter what your ethnic heritage, racial, sex, gender, all that stuff. You want to see yourself represented. So I think that was a very salient point to bring. So again, Tatiana, thank you very much for here. Now we're going to move on to Tish. Please unmute yourself, and the mic is yours.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. Firstly, I am completely new to the InfoSec industry, and when I say new, I mean 4 months new. And in the space of 4 months, I followed about 200 people related in different aspects of the tech industry. What I've noticed is there's been so much drama, so much fighting, whether it's over something that someone published or something that someone said. There's been so much rivalry, and I just wanted to drive home the point that being new and following close to 200 people, you guys are my teachers. You guys are my mentors. You guys are my heroes. You guys are the people that I look up to. If I have an assignment, I'm coming for help. If I have uh, a paper that I'm reading or a paragraph that I'm reading, it's pretty much been done by someone that I've followed. So the toxicity really is not a good look. Um, it really does not bode well on coming into the industry and realizing that, hey, I just read a paper by somebody today, and then you go, you follow them, and there's more negative than positive on their feed. It really is not a good look. It's not encouraging to be in the field at all. So because of this space tonight, and it relates to what I see and what I've learned in the short space of time that I've been in the industry, I just really want to take this opportunity to ask everybody, so look at yourself, look at your feed, but be mindful of the fact that somebody is watching you, somebody is looking up to you, and somebody really, really needs you to be that positive aspect in your life on this journey. And if tech or the industry is really something that you love, really something that you want to give back to, really something that you're into, just remember that there's people like me who come here every day, run through your feed, run through everything, and I would really love to see more positive than negative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very insightful, and that's something for everybody to remember that you are ahead of somebody always in this field. Doesn't matter if you've been here for a year or 2 years, you're always a year or two ahead, and you are a mentor by default for those people. So I actually saw a post by Davin Jackson. He had to drop for some unrelated issues, and he posted, "Be the change you want to see." And I think that's very important from everything that we're hearing here today is be the change that you want to see. And actually, I'm attributing that directly to Davin, and I think that's one of the messages that everybody has to take out of this. With that, I am passing the microphone to Lori.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes, this has been an awesome conversation. And I would just add a couple of points in that I think it says something about our society that the Squid Game is a popular thing on TV. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but it is very disturbing. And power, in my opinion, equals toxicity, pure and simple. We all come up to the top on others' shoulders, every single one of us. And just as fast as you can be raised to the top, and I think people forget this, you can be pushed to the bottom. Bully, everything we've talked about here with standing up. I saw this when I was a kid, and I've been bullied. And then people don't stand up. They don't stand up out of fear. And then if they're, think about the psychology of that, and the bully plays on that power trip. If you're not being bullied, then you're not going to stand up and you're going to laugh with the bully, even though it might be that embarrassed kind of laugh, because the bully isn't picking on you at the moment. And so we need to use our words wisely, be calm in our speech, say nice things more than we say negative things, do more of lifting each other up. I have a biracial family, and I have had neighbors say mean things to my son and daughter-in-law. I've had other people that I show pictures of my grandchildren to, and their first reaction is, oh, it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be that way. I do not understand why we have to go around putting labels on ourselves, because the labels are what actually drives the division. I understood some of what Jason was saying. Why do we, where did we pick up this habit of we have to indicate our culture, our race? You could see the color, you can see the person, I can appreciate the culture. But how far down does that have to drill to miss the human? We all bleed the same blood. We all have the same skin. We all have the same exoskeleton. Praise the differences, but still see the humanity in each of us. I have always been an optimist, but I am deeply, deeply concerned with where we are headed. And I could tell you, as a police officer, I've had young people swear at me and everything else. That when I was young, I never ever would have thought of opening my mouth to a cop like that, or a person of authority. And I'm not saying that authority isn't abused. It is. But at the same time, when we break down the boundaries, what do you have left? And I'm going to leave it with that question. When you break down those boundaries, what do you have left?
That's right. Thank you very much, Laurie. I appreciate it. I'm going to pass the mic really quick to Charles right here.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Going well.
Just a little bit of background, because I'm just meeting everybody mostly. So on Twitter I go by BSD Bandit. And like I said, just listening to the conversation tonight, like for me personally, like I got into the industry over 20 something years ago, and I definitely heard Tish loud and clear. I'm following Tish now. And it's true. Like I said, when I first got into the industry, and even in our daily lives, like, everybody comes from different backgrounds. Like I said, I'm a black man. Each day I got to wake up with different worries. A lot of people don't have the same worries that I have. But in spite of that, I'm choosing to try to help folks who look like me to get into the industry from a positive perspective, but not being oblivious to what's actually happening behind the scenes too, because it does happen and whatnot. So when it's time to, for us to even like make the change, and I was listening to folks earlier, definitely, like, if there's hiring managers in the place of like to hire somebody, or CEOs, be in that place and focus on, like, hey, this is actually happening, instead of just saying, yeah, we know it's happening. Actually, and somebody said, be the change you want to see in yourself. I challenge you tonight, whoever CEOs on here, whoever hiring folks on here, be the change that you want to see in the industry. So if you see there's a diversity issue, change it. Don't just say that we know it's happening and don't do anything, because I've seen that scenario before. But for me personally, changing, I've actually started my own company as well, and I'm trying to help others get into the industry. I don't care what you look like or whatever else, but I'm trying to help others get into the industry, especially folks that even look like me. I don't care if you're male or female. And I'm putting this out there. If it's anything that I can help with personally, please DM me. I don't care if it's a Python question, anything related to tech. Most of my feed is mostly just like positive morning videos to try to keep people motivated, especially during this pandemic. But as far as like from a tech perspective, I'm highly technical, but I just want to put that out there for folks who are, whatever it is that you're trying to do, my DMs are always open. I don't want to take up too much time.
Hey, Charles, it's nice to see you here. So thank you very much for those points. And yes, I can concur. Charles is a person that you should always follow. He's always an inspiration for a lot of the folks, and especially for me as well. So nice to see you here, Charles. Okay, let me move over to Alexandra.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to say wait, sorry, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm a cybersecurity undergrad. I'm also very new to tech as well. And listening to this conversation, I mean, there were a lot of points I can agree with, but there was one particular point I really wanted to focus on and not to take up too much time. But it's that feeling of when a minority is speaking up and someone interjects by saying, well, we're a community and these things happen, not to repeat what Charles is saying. But that can be very disheartening because it sounds the same as when your toxic company is telling you, well, we're a family. Every time you mention an issue or something of that nature, or anything just like that, that can be very disheartening, especially to newcomers trying to come into the industry. And you're like thinking to yourself, all right, I want to be the change. And then you're hearing higher up say stuff like that, and you're like, damn, shit really ain't changed. So just a reminder, yeah, I guess we are a community, but you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and mentioning those issues. Yeah, that was all for me.
Yeah, it can sometimes, as a Puerto Rican minority as well, it can sometimes feel condescending. And yeah, your point is very valid, very very valid. So thank you, Alexandra, for speaking out on this. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And I am bringing Beatrix back in here, and we're going to start closing this down because we're heading to the 11:30 Eastern Standard Time here. So, Beatrix, why don't you close us with some comments there?
I will definitely piggyback off of that. Like, we have to be the change that we definitely want to see. There is no such thing as, oh, I've never seen it before. I don't experience that, so I don't know nothing about that. That's out the window. Like, that whole excuse is over. It is over and done with. Let's move on from that and move past that so we can get to the real problem, to the meat of things, to where we can actually say, okay, we do realize there is an issue. There is a diversity and inclusion issue in our industries, in our companies, in my team. And then let's unpack that and really, really make an effort to do those type of things. Like, we can talk about diversity and inclusion all day, but if you really are not about it, like, we're going to know it off the bat. But I definitely want to thank everybody for coming out. This is not even my space, but I'm just a very verbal person when I feel like it. But I thank everybody for coming out today because it gave us a chance to have these conversations where we don't have that opportunity to have these conversations that are a bit difficult or uncomfortable for everyone. And so I really appreciate that, Parker, Rhea. Like, I really appreciate y'all inviting me. Like, I am definitely somebody that likes to talk and likes to speak their mind when prompted. But I definitely appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody for coming out.
All right. Thank you, Beatrice. Davin, you came back to us. You want to say some closing words as well?
Yeah, so I had to take a breather, but basically, and I just put this out on Twitter, to piggyback off of what Kiki said. Yeah, thank you for everybody who came out and spoke their mind and spoke their heart and spoke their truth. Even if the truth wasn't something that we necessarily didn't agree with, I hope that we learn from we learn from the good and the bad. I know I most certainly will. But this shit just like I said before, the shit got to stop. And like I said, there's people in here who I may have had disagreements with, or maybe not see things the way I see it. And I'm gonna come out and just say it flat out. Like, if I've ever done anything to wrong anybody at any given time, please know that it wasn't intentional. I apologize, and I hope we can move forward. At the end of the day, yes, people keep saying it's a community. Well, we need to start acting like it. And the first thing we need to do is understand where other people are coming from and other people's point of views. But like I said, the time for ignoring things and pretending like shit ain't a problem is dead. So we can move forward from that. If you
Davin, if you can hear me, your phone went dead.
Yeah, I think we lost Davin.
Yeah. That's
But again, thank you guys for hosting the space and things of that nature. Like I say, I mean, I wasn't trying to be the angry black woman, but I'm definitely gonna be the black woman in any setting. um, that's how I roll, and I'm not Beatrix. I'm Kiki, Khalilah, whatever you want to call me. I'm cool with either one, but I'm definitely a full-fledged black woman, and I feel like it's my duty to fight for my people or people of other races. Like, that's my job. Like, that's always my job. I don't get to take like a, a step away from that and just be like, you know what? I see them being racist towards my Mexican coworker, and I'm just gonna ignore it and just be like, it might get better. That's just crazy. That's a crazy train of thought.
I'm Puerto Rican, but that's a different story. Um,
I didn't say Puerto Rican. I didn't. I'm just saying it. I was
I'm
just giving an
joking.
example.
I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah, great points, Kiki, and thank you very much. And Parker, this has been a wonderful, enlightening, sometimes controversial, but everything that is here, everything that was said, I think came from the heart of all the speakers and all the listeners that are here and that are commenting on Twitter and making all these points, or bringing these points out to light. Because the reality is, as we look at the community on Twitter, there are many, many, many issues that we need to fix in this community. And unfortunately, yes, the topic of this is identifying toxicity in the InfoSec community, and the reality is the community has become very toxic. But we cannot also forego all the beauty that's in this in InfoSec, DataSec, cybersecurity, and the goals that we all have, all of us, and all the passion that we have or had, and we need to bring back, because we are all fighting the same battle. And that's what some of the speakers said, is we're all fighting the same battle with cybercrime and the issues that are in the world. So we do have to come, together as a community. We have to understand and not hide the issues, which I think that was one of the things that came up. We cannot turn a blind eye to the issues of the community. Sexism, racism, issues with gatekeeping. I do not want to hire this person because they're below us or beneath us or don't have the same experience. Sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox here. But what we identified tonight is that there are many problems in the community, and until we start working on solutions instead of just saying what's wrong, let's work on that. And what Davin said, unfortunately, he had to drop, but what Davin said was, let's start with ourselves. Let's start with saying, I'm sorry. I'm identifying that I do have prejudices. I do have biases. Okay? And we need to go ahead and work on ourselves to fix that within ourselves. And it is very important that we identify when we see something. In InfoSec and security, we say, when you see something, say something. So let's apply that to this too. Come on, people. We all know we have biases. We all know we have prejudice. Okay? Let's go ahead and identify that, say sorry, move forward, and then support our brothers and our sisters in every single way. And until we do that as a community, and we teach each other, that we teach one and pull up somebody else behind, we're not going to get better in this community. So with that, Parker, I pass it on to you as the host to close this down. And I want to thank everybody, and thank you very much for listening to me as well. Parker, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric. Thanks for stepping in. I know got a little bit, wouldn't say heated, but definitely, I think we had some really good conversations tonight. For anybody that came in maybe partway through and wanted to catch what was said at the beginning, this is going to be in podcast form, and hopefully within the next week or so. It takes a little bit to pull it down and do some editing. And you can always catch up on the couple of other spaces that we've done as well. But yeah, again, thank you to everybody who showed up tonight. I know we talked about a wide range of things, but I think everybody just wants, what everybody wants most is to just have a better community where everybody gets to belong and be a benefit to the industry as a whole. So thank you for everybody that spoke, everybody that listened. If you have any comments or thoughts for what we should talk about on the 28th, so 2 weeks from today, I'd love to hear them. So yeah, thanks everybody so much for coming out tonight.